Kenyans are puzzled. Kenyans are alarmed at the tweets by Lieutenant General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Yeah, that's the head of the military, Uganda People's Defense Forces, who also happens to be the son of Yoweri Museveni, a very close ally of President William Samoei Ruto. So what is going on here? Actually, on my show today, you will discover that this whole saga could be a political play, a very smart, ingenious political move, yeah, which has everything to do with our current political situation. Oh yes! You see, Kenyans are very quick to forget that President Yoweri Museveni has been in power for a very long time. He even makes the late Moi's 24 years look like nothing. Museveni has been president of Uganda for 36 years. Very interesting character, this man. I know most people don't even know that he has a second family. He has a second wife. Oh yes. I believe you can see that wonderful family on your screens right now. Just one of the many things people don't know about Museveni. I'm sure also Kenyans don't know that this has happened before. Yeah. Receiving threats from our neighbor, close brother, Uganda. It has happened before. What happened then? Why did it happen? Super fascinatingly, the circumstances were exactly identical to what we're facing today. So, stay with me for a very juicy show, a Kumekucha classic for sure. And while you're at it, please remember to like this video. Give me a like. Yeah, that'll help me a great deal. And if you've not yet subscribed, please make a decision today, right now, and subscribe so that you get the super fascinating info that is very difficult to get anywhere else. Yeah, it's all happening here at the Kumekucha Craze channel on YouTube. Now I need to ask, have you checked out the book by a Kenyan on former President Barack Obama of the United States? An African perspective, actually a Kenyan perspective of Obama. Very fascinating book. You'll find a link in the description area below. Yeah, just go and check it out. Yeah, it might be something you want to read. For those of us who know how it is important to keep reading, even in this digital age. And finally, Weekly Intelligence Briefings number 88 is out. And it has some information on what the ICC are about to do. It is highly likely that there will be a response from the ICC, yeah, over the recent manenos of a lawyer called Paul Kshs. Yeah. And most likely that response will impact directly on our current politics. What? You'll find that in WIB number 88. Now, in case you've not subscribed, you can see details on your screens right now. I have an amazing offer because for the first time I'm offering 6-month subscription. Times are hard and you may still want this information. So take out a 6-month subscription, yeah, for only $19.99 or Kenya shillings 1,999. And you'll miss nothing because you'll get all the back issues of WIB. Yeah, very, very sensitive stuff that will open your eyes on Kenyan politics. Of course, as well as the latest Weekly Intelligence Briefings number 88 with the information, yeah, that I've just told you about. Right! Twende kazi. To get a deep understanding of these latest tweets from Lieutenant Colonel Muhoozi Kainerugaba, it is important for us to dig a little deeper and find out who this man really is. Of course, that is apart from being the commander of the Uganda Defense Forces. Troops on the ground. To start with, Muhoozi is not only the son of President Yoweri Museveni, but he is also a very special son. During a recent birthday party in his honor, actually it happened on April 25th, 2022, this year, and was graced by the Rwandese president, Paul Kagame, and of course President Yoweri Museveni himself. Museveni referred to Muhoozi as a special gift from God, and even fondly remembered his birthplace, which happens to be Dar es Salaam, the capital of Tanzania. His dad was in exile at that time, 1974, when Muhoozi was born, at a place called Kurasini, for those who know Dar es Salaam well. Bottom line, he is not just a son, he is a gift. Yes, it's important to note that, because this saga gets very interesting when you dig just a little deeper. You see, President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda and President William Samoei Ruto of Kenya are very close bosom buddies. And indeed, many Kenyans may not know this. The first Ruto government of 2013 would never have happened without the major contributions of President Yoweri Museveni. Let me try my best to explain that very briefly. You see, at the time, Uhuru and Ruto were facing serious charges at the ICC, the International Criminal Court at The Hague. And the US diplomatic service told Kenyans very clearly, choices have consequences. It was very clear that electing Uhuru and Ruto would mean that there would be no diplomatic relationship with the West, the US, Britain, etc., etc. That was made very clear. But then the mystery is, this very firm policy of the US changed later, somewhere along the road, so that Uhuru and Ruto suddenly became acceptable, although they were still facing charges at the ICC. The person almost single-handedly responsible for that was President Yoweri Museveni, who has got very powerful friends in the West. And if you doubt that for a minute, ask yourself why President Museveni has gotten away with so much, which if another country had committed, would be in serious trouble with the West. Remember this guy called Bobby Wine, and what happened to him in the hands of Museveni. But nothing happened to Museveni's government. Indeed, they did not get anything more serious than a friendly slap on the wrist. Na hiyo maneno ikaisha. So what I'm saying is that General Muhoozi is very close to his dad's favorite, and his dad is very close to President William Samoei Ruto. And that is why there are some analysts who believe that this was just a joke. I'm not one of them, but there are some who believe that. Because you see, this is not the first time Muhoozi has sent out very controversial tweets. On December 31st, 2020, that is of course on New Year's Eve, the holiday season, people get very drunk, and Muhoozi is known to really love his alcoholic beverages. On that day, Muhoozi sent out quite a number of negative tweets against Bobi Wine, which Ugandans bitterly complained about. They said those tweets promoted tribalism within Uganda. Of course, later on, Muhoozi withdrew those tweets. And later it was believed he just got high. He had too much to drink and then went on Twitter. And these were the consequences. And therefore there are those who believe that this has happened again, with these recent tweets about taking over Nairobi, which in itself is laughable, for anybody who understands the military and military operations. Because for starters, you don't warn your enemy when you're coming. The element of surprise is usually an advantage for any advancing military. That's the truth. But it is also a big joke when you take into consideration Kenya's military capabilities compared to those of Uganda. And here I have to be careful not to say too much. But I'll say this: any invading force coming into Kenya from the Ugandan side would have zero chances of clearing the border towns, let alone arriving at Kisumu. Because we have some very serious KDF personnel, if I can put it that way, in that part of the country, that are very difficult to penetrate, especially for an army of the caliber of Uganda. Bottom line, these tweets are just a joke that unfortunately is not funny. It's not. So what is all this about? In my opinion, and based on the research I've done, I believe that this latest move is political and linked to a current political situation in the country. Please allow me to back up a little so that we are fully convinced and we also understand. And I'm going to shock you, at least most of you. This is not the first time that Kenya is receiving threats from her neighbor, Uganda. In February 1976, the then president of Uganda, Field Marshal Al-Haj, whatever, Idi Amin Dada, made a sensational claim that huge parts of Kenya actually belong to Uganda and they need to be handed back to Uganda. Actually most of Western Kenya, the Rift Valley. This shocked Kenyans to their bones. And that is why, for the keen observer, it was very surprising when the very next day huge demonstrations were held protesting against this claim by Uganda. In short, what Kenyans were saying during these demonstrations to Uganda was, ebu jaribu, ndio mtajua maragwe pia ni mboga. Just try us. Just dare try us. That's what people were saying in those demonstrations. And it is on record that the Kenyan government went out of its way to create a lot of drama around this single statement made by President Idi Amin Dada. Because ordinarily, when such a statement is made off the cuff by head of state, the first diplomatic reaction is to seek a confirmation, an elaboration, an explanation of exactly what the president was saying of that country. But what did the Kenyan government do instead? They headed straight to Washington. Hey guys, we need some serious military hardware to defend ourselves. And of course this heightened the fear amongst Kenyans. And Kenyans naturally united together, to see what this neighbor of theirs wanted. Now, note carefully. This was February 1976. What had happened in 1975? A man called J.M. Kariuki, the then legislator for Nyandarua North, had been brutally murdered. And the reaction from the Kenyan public took the Kenyan government completely by surprise. Because clearly, J.M. Kariuki was much more loved than the government had thought. And tensions in the country at that time reached fever pitch. The government even banned a song by Kikuyu singer Joseph Kamaru, a song in honor of J.M. Kariuki. You see, there's a huge difference between reading all this stuff in a history book and being there. I was then a young boy, still in primary school. But later, when I started my political lessons, under the very able tutelage of my late political lecturer, my dad, this issue came up and was analyzed in great detail. That's a huge advantage you have on this channel. Just to give you an idea of how tense things were in Kenya in 1975, I remember the day J.M. Kariuki's body was discovered. We were picked up very early from school. And when we asked why, we were told the body of J.M. Kariuki had been found. J.M. Kariuki ni nani? My political lecturer was funny. Even when we were very young kids, he never believed in telling lies. He used to hate lies. And so his response, J.M. Kariuki was a very popular politician. Period. Wale watu kule bunge wanarukaruka wakipiga kelele. My political lecturer smiled and replied, ndio, hawa. J.M. alikuwa mmoja wao. The next question from my young mind, walimuua kwa nini? Why did they kill him? The response, ni mambo ya siasa. Of course, I couldn't understand at that time. I don't remember how many days we stayed away from school, but it was serious. And in the months that followed, there was a lot of tension in Kenya. Indeed, at one point, in a show of might, there was a display of military hardware along what is today Moi Avenue. And Jomo Kenyatta was there. And he even took a salute from Air Force jets flying over the city. The whole idea was to show those who might want to threaten Jomo Kenyatta's government that wako na nguvu. They're powerful. State machinery is still in place to deal with anybody who will even think of trying anything. But tensions prevailed. The government of Jomo Kenyatta at that time became very unpopular. Most Kenyans, a vast majority of Kenyans, were against Jomo Kenyatta. And to make matters worse, not just other communities in Kenya, the president's own community, the House of Mumbi, were at the forefront of feeling that this was too much. Huyu mzee ameua watu wengi sana. This is too much. And things did not improve as the year 1975 came to an end. So in early 1976, in February, Idi Amin comes out with this statement. And guess what happens? Immediately Kenyans forget their differences with the government. And they unite fully behind the government. All Kenyans. Because if there's an invasion, it affects everybody. So this thing brought all Kenyans together in unity against a possible common enemy who wanted to invade, allegedly. Fast forward to the present, the year 2022. We have just come out of a presidential election. And you know the feeling amongst a vast majority of Kenyans. And so naturally, what is supposed to happen is that all Kenyans unite under the government of William Samoei Ruto to face this possible foreign aggressor. You get my drift? I am sure you do. Until next time, this is Kshs. Kumekucha.